The purpose of Wealth Talk is to educate, inform, and hopefully entertain you on the subject of building your wealth. WealthBuilders recommends you should always take independent financial, tax, or legal advice before making any decisions around your finances.
Welcome to episode 92 of Wealth Talk. My name is Christian Rodwell, the Membership Director for WealthBuilders, and I'm joined today by our founder, Mr. Kevin Whelan. Hi, Kevin.
Hello, Chris. Good to be with you again, and welcome to February now.
Here we are, and we're introducing a new feature for Wealth Talk in 2021, and that is to shine a spotlight on one of our members every month. And we've got hundreds of members now in our 7 Steps to Wealth program. And every day in our private Facebook group, they're sharing, collaborating, and we thought it'd be great to invite them onto the podcast to share their progress so far.
And it's good to hear from them because, we talk a bit, Chris. People probably got used to our voice and the occasional guest. But, the people who are really, taking the time, taking the trouble, putting their hard-earned intellect, their capital, their time into a process to create financial independence for themselves, their families, and a future legacy. It's great to hear their own individual dimension, what got them interested, what got them started, what was holding them back, all of the usual things. Because, if we were in a room full of 100 people, Chris, and we said, right, out of 100, if everybody who's interested in becoming financially independent, so you'd never need to work again in a day job, you'd never need to work again in your business, you own enough assets to be financially free for the rest of your life, who's interested in that? And you get pretty much 100 out of 100, but still only 5 in 100 make it. So it's good to hear from those people who've overcome that inertia and made a start. And it was good that you chose Ivor as the first one because it's only been in the program for a few months now, and could have easily just sat still and not done anything at all, as I'm sure you'll have pulled out of him, Chris, in the interview. But he didn't. He overcame the inertia, started, and now he's well on the way to creating that plan. And he recognizes that it won't be too long at all before he's reaching that financial security figure.
Yeah. Well, we know one of the big ones that holds people back is just not having enough time. And I remember when I first spoke to Ivor last year, and he had used the fact that he was in lockdown and that he had a little bit more time to his benefit, and decided, okay, if I don't make a change now, then when's it going to happen? And I'm sure he won't regret that decision one little bit.
And I think that's an important lesson for all of us, really, because, time is always a factor, right? It's the one thing that's so much more difficult to leverage, particularly at the beginning, because you're only imagining your own time. Later in parts of the program, we show people how to leverage other people's time. But right at the start, when you're just thinking about it, you think, well, how the heck am I going to build wealth and hold down a very successful full-time job, which is one of the questions Ivor had to ask himself. And he looked at it and thought, hang on a minute, I need to do this. And he'll explain why he needed to do it. But I think it's a very powerful thing that you just need to make the decision to get started. Because once that happens, momentum just takes it all over. And there's so much education, support, and connections that we offer, Chris, that inevitably, we're always there to make sure people don't get stuck. And that's another fear, isn't it? That people feel a bit overwhelmed and there's too much choice. And as a result, again, they stay inert. And that's what we're hoping to inspire other people to maybe do something about their own wealth building.
Yeah. And we've broken everything down into a step-by-step holistic process that teaches people how to generate recurring income from assets. And in the conversation with Ivor in a moment, I'll be talking through those steps. And if you can't visualize it, then last week we did invite you to download a copy of the Recurring Revenue Roadmap, which lays out those steps. And if you haven't got a copy of that already, then you can get a copy and actually book a call with me if you'd like to have a chat just to see how WealthBuilders may be able to help you. Heading over to wealthbuilders.co.uk/roadmap. So if you haven't got a copy, download that now. And should we have a listen to the conversation with Ivor?
Let's do it.
Ivor, welcome back to Wealth Talk today.
Hi, Christian. How are you?
Yeah, I'm really, really good, thank you. Now, I know you've already appeared on Wealth Talk earlier in your wealth building journey, but a new feature that we're introducing to Wealth Talk now is just a spotlight on some of our members and the great work that they're doing within the community. And you've had a really great start to 2021. In fact, you've been on fire pretty much since you joined Wealth Builders, Ivor. So we're going to hear about some of those things, and in particular, we're just going to really walk through the process together, right, and see what those steps are and how they all tie in together, and you can't really skip any of it. And so let's begin then. I guess back at the beginning, for everyone, there's a reason why. Some people have a stronger catalyst than others, but was there a point when you sort of decided, right, I need to do something about this?
Yeah, I think my reason why started off probably a couple of years ago now, when my old manager, he'd been working within the financial institution for a number of years, and he showed me his pension figure, and that really gave me a bit of a kick, because my pension was nowhere near his figures, and so that was the first start of the reason why to start to realise, well, if I continue doing on the same path, then I'm not going to be able to survive as I get to a certain age. So that was the first reason why. The second part was when we got into the first lockdown, and I started to think, well, I can sit back and do nothing in lockdown, or I can really push on and use this to my advantage. So I took the latter and decided that was the starting point for me to start my looking at the reason why do I want to be successful and financially independent, and then I overlaid that with the journey for my family, and I really want to make sure that the kids are also on that path. So it's kind of a mixture of making sure we're okay in later on in life for myself and my wife, but almost more the case of my drive now is to make sure the kids have got a really good starting point, and they understand how to wealth build as well.
So Ivor, when you were out there and kind of looking how to start, what made you choose Wealth Builders specifically?
Good question as it goes, Christian. Two things for me. First one was around not having any hard sell, so no pressured sell, and it was a case of I really understood that yourself, wealth building community, what you wanted to help, be successful. So that was the main one. There wasn't any real heavy sales tactics. So that made me quite comfortable with the whole process. And then the second reason, I just found listening to the podcast. So again, anyone that's maybe on the fence or hasn't decided whether to join Wealth Builders, I would suggest just go and listen to the podcast. You'll get loads of free information, that you can listen to, act upon if you choose, and then you will feel like you know Kevin and Christian by the end of it.
Step 2 then is what we call the wealth gap, and that's really the 5 levels of wealth. So at the beginning, you've got to get clear on where you are, where you want to get to, right? So talks about those 5 levels. So financial insecurity is where 95% of the population are, relying on one source of income. It's normally a job, or, in other cases can just be a business, but it's always risky when you're relying on one. So the only way to change that, of course, is to build asset income, right? So you started that journey. So did you set your targets, and, what levels are you kind of moving towards at the moment, Ivor?
Yeah, so one's quite easy because I was in the 95%. So I was at zero from reoccurring income coming in other than my day job. So that the baseline was there at zero. And it was interesting just going through the program to start really working out, because in your own head, you think that you need X amounts of money to survive. But when you really start going through the program, what's really good is you can get really detailed on how much you really need to earn. And, I've kind of set mine. It started off at quite high. It was probably 7,000. And then I really stripped it down even more. And I'm now at 4,000 is the level that I'd like to be at, that gives me some security. And that's what I'm tracking towards at the moment.
Yeah, brilliant. Excellent. Then step 3. So these first 3 steps are all kind of our sort of stage 1 in the process. And it's all about building confidence. It's getting that peace of mind. And one of the key elements there is making sure you're protected. And, we've got the roof. We've talked about the roof process. There's also debits that falls within this as well. So just making sure, you're on top of what money is coming in and going out. And then obviously making sure that you've got everything protected for yourself, for your family and your assets. So tell us a little bit about that stage.
Yeah, the debits was a good stage for me. I didn't actually find anything out that I didn't know. And again, some people might be really groundbreaking for them. It was actually quite nice for myself because I found out that I was doing everything correct anyway. So I had a good handle on what was coming in and what was going out. So I didn't really have to change anything. But again, that was a good tick box to at least you're on the right path. And then if we add the roof to this is where I was exposed massively. The will that we had in place wasn't sufficient. We never had anything in trust. So I would say that the roof is a really big part of wealth building. And I think where it sits in the program is just right. It's if you are starting out wealth building like myself, it's just at the right time where you can start to make sure you've got your debits and your roof protected for you to be able to start that journey.
Yeah. So we're moving through the recurring revenue roadmap. We're on stage 2 now, which is building your knowledge. So step 4 of the process is assets. So we obviously have a very unique, piece of IP, which is our 7 pillars of wealth. So how did you, obviously you mentioned you're already in property, but tell us about kind of the overview of those 7 areas and how you kind of decided which one you were going to focus on.
Yeah, well, I've got a natural passion for property anyway. We've been kind of sitting on the sideline for a number of years, debating whether to get into the buy-to-let market. We've never done that, but we've kind of used our own personal house to move up the ladder that way and to create equity in our own main residence. So property was natural for me. That was always going to be the first one that I was going to choose, and then to overlay that with our pensions. So my wife's got a final salary pension. I've got a couple of pensions. So it just felt like that was a good place to start. And then the more you understand how to wealth build, creating a SSAS pension along the property journey, they just fit hand in hand together. So they were the 2 pillars I chose.
Yeah, and that moves us nicely into step 5, which is leverage and financial leverage that you found within your pension there to work really nicely with the property pillar. So yeah, any other points of leverage that you can think of, Ivor, that you've tapped into?
Yeah, well, I think the refinance, being able to tap into the finance, the equity within your main residence is really key. So that's enabled me to start the property journey. Yeah.
Excellent. And step 6 then is strategy. So which strategy have you decided to focus on?
So that's probably one of the most challenging areas, I think. As you choose property, there's so many different areas, and what's really helped me is I decided to get educated, and I think that's really key for anyone that wants to invest in property as a business, as a wealth building pillar. So I invested in some training, and that enabled me to focus. At the moment within the single let market, as well as HMOs is where I'm looking at, but at the moment it's really just focusing on single lets.
Yeah, you're one step ahead of me, Ivor, because focus is the next step, right? So we're now moving into stage 3, which is building assets. So stage 3 is when you've got a plan in place. You've chosen your pillar, you've chosen your strategy, you know where your points of leverage are, you're focusing in the right direction based on your wealth dynamics, you've got your roof, all of this is in place. It's now time to focus, right? And this is where we teach the wheel of wealth. And there's 5 components, and education is that first step. So how important has the word focus been for you?
Oh, massively. You just can't underestimate once you've got a clear plan and then you've got to focus, the power and the leverage you get from that is just phenomenal for me. And I've been able to tap into that as much as possible. So, and again, I think Kevin's mentioned this before, as it's really, turning the wheel at the start is really quite difficult. It can be time consuming, but I'm finding now I've gone through these cycles, it's becoming easier.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. Yeah, great. So moving into step 8, and this is results. So we send out a wealth chart to all of our members when they join. And I know we had a joke, didn't we, Ivor, because you had downloaded so many things from us that you kind of turned it into your wealth wall, haven't you? You've got things stuck all over the place.
Yeah.
So you had the focus, and let's talk about results then. So you've had a cracking month, or couple of months even. So what's been happening?
Yeah. So I guess the first buy to let is now generating around about 240 worth of income each month, which is great. So that's a starting point. I've just been able to refinance that first buy to let, which should allow me to move that onto another deal. We've secured, just before Christmas, we secured a second buy to let, which will be a 3-bedroom house that we're going to convert the downstairs garage into a bedroom and a downstairs shower room. So that, again, hopefully actually produce some, that will give me around about £600-700 a month. And then on Monday, secured our third buy to let, similar property, where we'll do another garage conversion and again look to achieve around about similar figures. So, marking off the chart as we say. So that's really good to have that, looking at that wealth chart every day as well. It's really good.
Yeah, well, we send out 2 pens with the chart, a black and a red pen, and the red pen is there to update that thermometer. So hopefully that's filled in now.
Yeah, perfect.
Good. Well, we are moving through nicely, and the final step is accelerate your way towards financial independence. So obviously there's a little way to go, and this is not an overnight process. This is a journey that for most people to move from insecurity to financial independence, will take anywhere between sort of 3 to 7 years. So in terms of getting you further forwards, Ivor, what do you see as being really important? What do you see as, the aspects that will help you to keep accelerating and building upon everything you've done already?
Yeah, I think the key there, I think what we've got within the group is the community. I think that the community is really powerful to be able to see the results of other people. Everyone's on a different stage of wealth building. And what I love about the program is, it doesn't matter what stage you're at, everyone's there to help you out. And I think the more you use the community, the more you're going to get out of the program and accelerate your wealth building journey as well.
Yeah, no, that's brilliant. Any other tips at all, Ivor, before I let you go? For those people perhaps who are, at the start or just not sure whether, this is the right path for them to take?
Yeah, I would say if anyone has done what wealth building is about, I think just having a structure. There's a really well laid out structure. It's easy to follow and simple steps. That's one key. If you like structure and you're not sure even how to attempt to start wealth building, then the program gives you that guidance. And then what I would like to also mention is even if you do the program and you don't get the results straight away, but if you can just action on the roof and the debits, I think that's really amazing. Just making sure that you've got whatever wealth you have protected and just making sure you've got your wills in place and anything in trust, then I think that's a really good starting point.
Yeah, thank you so much, Ivor. I really appreciate you sharing all of that with us today and look forward to inviting you back when you hit your next milestone.
Great, thanks a lot, Christian. Appreciate it.
Well, congratulations to Ivor there. That was really interesting listening to his progress so far. But before we dive into that, Kevin, let's head on over to Trustpilot and share one of our latest reviews that's come in over the past 7 days. And we're going to pick Francisco, and he says, cannot recommend Kevin and his team at WealthBuilders more highly, from helping me with all aspects of setting up my SaaS to the invaluable insight and experience they have given me along the way. All aspects of the trusty admin service has also been spot on, and they've introduced me to a wealth of experts who share ideas and insight willingly with the aim of helping everyone in their community get the most from their SaaS and achieve financial independence.
Very nice. Otherwise known as Frankie, actually. He's just a gem of a gentleman, and I've known him for quite a while. And delighted he decided to join the program when he had a gap in his life. and decided the time was right. So, very, very grateful to have Frankie in the program.
Yeah. Now, Kevin, you remember episode 2, the 3 Ds.
Mm-hmm.
So if you were to pick a D for Ivor, which one do you think you would go for?
Well, he's definitely a dynamic now, isn't he? I mean, look, he's an action taker. You can tell by his wealth dynamic. You can tell by the fact he's now got the bit between his teeth, hasn't he? He's overcome the inertia, and now momentum has taken over. And you can see the ways he's brought some of the essential ingredients in the program together, hasn't he? Really, he's found the reason why. He's identified the figure that he needs to at least become financially secure. And we know he's got a figure for financial independence as well. He's identified the starting strategy, and he's worked out, well, where the money is going to come from. And but before he did all that, he took stock of where he was, realized his family was his top priority, and protected his roof. And this is really important. A lot of people think you should protect, or they get to protection too late. Anybody who knows my story knows my father, who was a business owner, died relatively young, 46 years of age. He thought he was immortal. He thought, well, I'm building. So while I'm building, I'm going to focus on the building. But unfortunately, he died with no will, with no life cover, with nothing to protect and safeguard the business. So all of that building was on sand. And that was regrettable, lamentable, and certainly a big catalyst in my life to do better, not just for myself, but to help others not fall into the same trap. And that's why we put the roof really early on in the program, Chris. So it was interesting and actually somewhat gratifying to hear him say just the peace of mind that he got from that, not necessarily a financial result, but the peace of mind for taking care of his family as he begins the journey was valuable enough for the investment he made in the program. And that's just very powerful to me.
Yeah. And he had that wake-up call right at the beginning, didn't he? He mentioned when he kind of saw his manager's pension and realised if he just keeps on that same track, that's not going to get him to where he wants to be. And I think, that is a point that many people realise. And you just have to take that first step. And that first step is often overwhelming. People then lead to too much information. And that's what also holds a lot of people back, which is, why having a clear plan is really the only way, and just to then execute on that plan, as we've heard Ivor doing.
And he's sticking to the process. He's recognizing, look, Ivor's a very successful full-time employee, okay? Very successful at that. So he's done a great job of earning a living. But he recognized that, you can earn lots of money in a job, but it doesn't guarantee wealth because the job is insecure, the pension is insecure, and didn't have enough diversification going on. So, by being willing and being humble enough, and I think that's a skill that he wouldn't say of himself, but I'll say of him, that he has the humility to say, hey, I don't know everything about this, and I'm open-minded to receiving help. So he's not a DIYer. He's asking for help, and not just asking with the view to receiving. What I would say about Ivor and why we picked him out to spotlight on Ivor is Ivor is one of those people who gives back to the community. So he's always willing to share. He's always willing to post. He's so committed to being not just a receiver, a taker, but a giver. And I think that bodes well for wealth building, because I think the other value that I think people who try and build wealth on their own don't get is there's no more powerful thing than being involved in a creative, entrepreneurial, sharing network. The community and the collaboration not just comes out from Ivor, but comes out every single day in our groups and comes out in the mentorships and things that we do, Chris, and the way that people are just sharing information with each other. And we're seeing that literally every day now because we've got so many people in the community. And I would say it's just so much joy to be created from sharing than trying to do everything on your own and be actually lonely on your wealth building journey. It's there to be shared. And I think Ivor's just brilliant at that. And I think that's important. So recognizing the value in community and being willing to receive, being humble enough to receive, but being open enough to give as well. And I think he's done an outstanding job of that, and I commend him for it.
Yeah. And step 5, right at the heart of our recurring revenue roadmap, is the word leverage. And it's the key to building wealth. We've done an episode of this in the past. And Ivor used good leverage. He talked about, obviously, looking at pillar 1, which is home capacity, using some of the equity there, and also leveraging his pension, which is pillar 2. And that is now allowing him to build his property portfolio, which is pillar 4.
Yeah, and just a word on the pension, right? Because we hear a lot in the program, and if people listen to a few podcasts, the word SSAS, the small self-administered scheme, which is really a pension that comes to life because people can control it and make it a part of their wealth building journey and a part of their future, not a part of the past. But let's be clear here, Chris. Anybody who's got a pension here in the UK or overseas, anybody can do better. And the do better is definitely a call to action I would have for everyone. So if you've got a pension and you are using it in some way, then either reduce your costs. In the UK, you can do that in a very low cost SIP. Reduce your costs because you can, and that will improve your performance, even if you don't leverage it on your wealth right now. Or if you're eligible, look into, which means having a business, a limited company or an LLP, don't need to get into the details of that, but some corporate structure around your wealth, then, you can look at the difference between just simply reducing costs to drive better returns, or learning how you can improve your performance by learning more. And that's one of the things we know that Ivor will be doing in his pension, which will be some form of collaboration, what we often call a lend and learn. So he will lend money like a bank to somebody with good due diligence and good rigor behind that, but will be learning how to do something else, that will equip him to achieve a higher ROI for himself. And this is really important too, because again, different to the DIYer, if you learn how to become better, then your ROI will go up. So rather than this being risky, the more capable you become, the more confident you become, the more connected you become. Any question you've got out there, any question of your own, how do I do this? There's somebody in the community that we've sought out and built relationships with that can show you how. And that's the whole value of doing this in a kind of joined up way, rather than doing it in a sort of a piece by piece, like a jigsaw puzzle with odd pieces, but not ever seeing the lid of the jigsaw puzzle. And I think what you've created, Chris, with the recurring revenue roadmap is the lid of the jigsaw puzzle. And I would encourage anybody to download that so that they can get an insight into that. Whether they connect or collaborate with us or not, it will be valuable to get a sight of how to do this properly.
Yeah, head to wealthbuilders.co.uk/roadmap if you haven't got a copy of that, and you can have a look exactly at what we've been talking about today. And you could hear there as Ivor was moving through those steps, how his confidence was building, as you said earlier, the peace of mind there with getting the roof in place, and then building knowledge, which is learning about which pillar are you going to focus on, which strategy, and then where's your leverage coming from. And then, moving into that third stage of the roadmap, which is all about building assets. And that's where you have to focus. And we teach the Wheel of Wealth, which is a very unique process. No matter what asset or strategy you're focusing on, you turn the wheel every time, and that will guide you safely through to decide whether that is the right strategy that you wish to follow or not. And for Ivor, he chose the BRR, buy, refurb, refinance, and turn the first wheel. And that's now generating £240 a month. So his thermometer is rising. He's filled that in. And then he's been able to obviously leverage that, refinance, allowing him to get his second property. And we all say 3 turns of the wheel, Kevin. You really start to know what you're doing by that point.
Yeah, I mean, look, anytime the first time you do anything, you think about it driving a car, think about it riding your bike when you were a kid. think about anything you do, the first time you do it is probably not your best because you're learning, you're still a bit clunky at it. Then you do it and you've learned the lessons from the first. And the second time you're better than the first. And the third time, pretty much, if you've chosen a wealth strategy, from our experience, once someone has turned that wheel 3 times, educate, support, connect, due diligence, and then the guidance and the action of taking the things in the right order and sequence, that's the wheel of wealth really articulated in a sentence. Once you do that 3 times, you pretty much know what you're doing, and that should give you the confidence to then turn a bigger and a stronger wheel. It's like going through the gears in a car, Chris. So you move from gear 1, gear 1 will get you to where you want to get to, but it's going to be slower. If you imagine trying to drive where I'm from, if I'm trying to drive from London to Newcastle when I go and see my mother on her 80th birthday this year, I'll be doing that, but I won't be driving in first gear, right? Because I would get there, 350 miles, but it would take a long time. It'd be hard work and it'd be very noisy and clunky. So you have to go through the gears. So usually 1 or 2 turns of the wheel, move on to a better gear. 1 or 2 turns of the wheel, move on to a better gear. So you don't have to know everything. You don't go from first to 7th in a car. You'd kill the engine. So you can't do that. And you can't do that in your wealth. What we try and do is slow people down. I don't know if Ivor mentioned that, but many people do. As they say, that one of the things that we do in the program is slow people down, but keep the momentum up. That way they make slow, steady progress that is still steady enough. I mean, most people can achieve financial independence within 5 years. And by the end of year 1, I know he's not there yet, but by the end of year 1, he'll certainly be halfway to security. And then by the end of year 2, he'd be secure. By the end of year 3, he'll be onwards and upwards because, as I said, he'll be accelerating. He won't be going at the same pace. That's the natural progress of people who are in a program as opposed to doing things on their own in a kind of DIY way. I think you got the message, Chris. I'm saying don't DIY your way to wealth.
Yeah, absolutely. So congratulations again to Ivor. The wheels are most definitely turning, and he's one of many in our community, and it's always a difficult choice, and we'll definitely shine the spotlight once again on another member next month. So if you'd like to get a copy of our recurring revenue roadmap, head on over to wealthbuilders.co.uk/roadmap. And whilst you're online tapping away, why not head to Trustpilot as well and leave us a review if you've been enjoying listening to these podcasts.
Yeah, and thanks, Chris, for hosting that and for getting the best out of the interview with Ivor. And I look forward to, it'll be interesting to see who we choose next time. Someone at a different stage of their journey, possibly turning a different wheel or certainly a different strategy. And let's see the lessons we can share there.
Indeed. Well, we'll be back again and we'll see you same time, same place next week.
Okay, until next time, everyone. See ya.
We hope you enjoyed today's episode. Don't forget that we are constantly updating our resources inside the Wealth Builders membership site to help you create, build, and protect your wealth. Head over to wealthbuilders.co.uk/membership right now for free access. That's wealthbuilders.co.uk/membership.